Hello and welcome to another episode of Faithless Emo Racing. So today we've got some highlights from some of the online racing that I've been taking part in the last couple of weeks. So first of all we're going to take on a HSV. This is in the leagues at Yas Marina Circuit. Now first of all what I'd like to show you is a block pass. And this is where you get down the inside of somebody, block their route to the apex, forcing them to concede the corner. So as you can see, I'm on the inside of this green and black HSV. I take the apex a bit wide, but I make sure I get to the apex before he does, blocking his pass. So next one we've got is a switchback. So going down into this chicane, what I'm going to aim to do is go a bit wider than the other driver so I can cut back underneath them. So this red and white car, and we cut back underneath them, getting a better exit, getting on the accelerator quicker. And then the next pass, we've got a slipstream pass. So this is probably the simplest one, where you're on a long straight, you get tucked up behind the car in front and slipstream. So as you can see, we pull out alongside, but then the slipstream effect starts waning, so they start holding position. And at this point, we just know we need to outbrake them. So I hold a good brake line, and they go in too deep into the brakes. So next up, we have a traction pass. So as you can see, just about, the cars up front are having a bit of a duel, so I'm focusing, let's get a good traction from this. Go a little bit wider, get on the power early, and as you can see I have to find a route. It is a little bit off track, so if you think that's a bit naughty from me, let me know in the comments below. But as you can see, we get better traction and allow us to pull alongside and pass that car. As you can see, we've actually completed the pass before the braking zone, which is the ideal one, so we can return to the racing line. Right. Next pass, we've got defending the line, so this is not even a pass. So as you can see here, you can just see the opponent car on the right hand bottom corner. So I'm going to hold my line, I'm going to put the car in the middle of the road, so the only way round is a long way round for him. As you can see, I can still make the apex and manage to defend my position there. Nice and fairly. I can even now start thinking about the car in front. Again, I took a bit of a tighter line to start with to protect my line. The next pass that we've got up here is a traction pass, or what I like to call a traction pass. So this is all about lining up your opponent to get a better drive off the corner and pass them down the straight. So as you can see, we're doing better than this HSV up front and wet, but there's no real passing opportunity there. So I decide to hold back and let's see what develops. So we're going through these fast corners here, and we can just see the guy in front just running a little bit too deep. Now he is a bit cheeky that he decides not to even try and come back on the corner, but we'll let him off this time. Then coming on to the last corner, we can see he's wide, so I'm just making sure traction, make sure I can get a good traction. As you can see, I can get a better punch off the corner, and we can move alongside. No need for a slipstream because we had that much extra pace. Past we go, and then finally down into the last corner here at Sebring in the wet. Quite difficult conditions. You can see I run a little bit wide, and he tries to come back at us, but luckily we've got enough pace and momentum going through that last corner there. Next up, we've got some action from Lime Rock, and this is taking the inside line. So the inside line on a corner will be the shorter distance around the corner, so it can sometimes be the most effective line around the corner. So this is straight off the start in the Camaro, so I'm kind of biding my time. I don't like to cause accidents at the start, so I tend to go for being more cautious. You can see the HSV is struggling a little bit there. We managed to get our nose down the inside in corner 2 and push our way through. A little tap on that red Camaro, but all's fair in rubbing, and then a little dab of the brakes and we can get back down the inside and again get better traction off the corner as the head a bit slide. Next up, we've got outbraking. So we're in the wet on Brands Hatch, and as you can see, I managed to pull alongside at the last minute and outbrake them. Now there is a bit of a puddle there, both of us aquaplane a little bit, but I've got then the better traction off the corner and then managed to complete the pass. Next up, we've got pressure passes, or this is what I like to say, never give up in any kind of race. I see a lot of people quitting when they're racing online, but this is why. One mistake, he's off, gravel, pass completed. Coming up here again in the wet, he goes in a little bit too deep, off the course, on the gravel, pass completed. So never give up, especially when you're racing online. Right, so this next clip's a little bit longer and what I like to call panel bashing. So it's a bit BTCC like. There is some fair racing in here, give or take. So my first mistake here is going for the outside line off the start line. Would have been better off going on the inside, and as you can see I just lose speed by going a long way round. Also my setup here does have a bit too much understeer. I brave it out down the inside. I think, yeah, I've got quite a good line. We've managed to stay with this grey one here. Now this is where it starts going wrong. Somebody's on the grass, they're out of control, they're never going to make the corner, and a little bit of a rub. Now, fair enough, that wasn't a great move on his part. He should have stayed on the tarmac, but we all got through the corner safely, so I'm not going to huff and puff about it. And away we go in the race. I think a lot of people try too hard at the start of the races, that guy in particular. Next up, we've got Sportsmanship. So I'm not perfect, I never pretend to be, but I do make mistakes, but I try and make sure I make those mistakes in a fair kind of way. So as you can see, I've got a better drive out the final corner at Indianapolis, and we managed to pass this HSV. So I do not cover them off, so I do not cut across. I think that's personally bad driving, cutting across back onto the racing line. As you can see, he can stay out around the outside a lot better than I can. Again, that's mainly down to my setup being having a lot of understeer in it. I try and go for the switchback on the car, but he just closes the door a little bit too much, and we tag. As you can see, I back off, get out the throttle, and I wait for him to control his car, and then carry on. I won't want to pass him under those kind of conditions. Next up, we're moving away from leagues and moving into S-Class racing online, into the 4GT. So off the start, what I like to do is get a little bit slip, a little bit of wheel spin, but not too much, and make sure you can get into second gear at the optimal point. As you can see, concentrate on the exit of the first corner, and I get a good traction pass on that Bugatti EB110. And now we're going down the first of the straightaways at Bathurst. As you can see, I seem to be losing out a little bit on top end. This is a standard 4GT, so there's no setup or tuning on this. And as you can see, that F-150 making a massive mistake and almost throwing me off. Next up, we've got Power Pass. So this is actually me being passed. As you can see, I've got an NSX behind me, a fair way behind. I think, hey, it's only an NSX. Onto the start-finish straight, it's still behind me, and then all of a sudden, wow. Now that NSX is travelling at a fair rate of knots. That's one thing that I'm not too great on the PI index on Forza, is it seems to be weighted very much towards power is king. As you can see, that NSX is making this look like a Ford Fiesta. I'd love to know what setup that guy's running on that car. If you know, put in the comments below. Next up is issues. So I prefer to do leagues online because there seems to be a high caliber race. Now this is just in a normal S-Class hopper, and these are the kind of issues that you do find online. So off the start it's fairly even. Sebring's quite a wide track, so it's not too bad. But as we can see, we go into there, we've got a lot of people trying too hard, and then bumps start happening. So here I've bumped off the track, I'm trying to stay on, and then coming down to the second corner, there's nowhere for me to go, so I just choose to take to the grass, which I then get rear-ended on, and other people spinning out. Now that's generally an issue with some of the racing online. The caliber can be a little bit patchy. Some people race fairly, some people don't. Again, you can see the car in front has a lot more power than most of the cars in this class, so it shows how the PI index doesn't quite equal out. As you can see, I brake very well. He takes a bit of curb, so he runs a bit wide, and I managed to outbrake him with more of a block pass because I kind of got to the corner and just had a blocking, knowing that he was faster down the straights. Sorry if you can't see this, but this is final bit is in too deep. So as you can see, I've managed to pass that a lot faster car, and I'm trying to go as fast as possible to try and put as much gap in. As you can see, it just makes me look like I'm standing down the straight. He must be doing about 200 miles an hour. Try and brake as deep as I can into the last corner at Sebring, but as you can see, I just run a little bit too deep, and then he cuts back underneath me. I try and get the power down, but you can see he just has too much power for this 4GT to handle. So, as always, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Drop a comment in below what you want to see. Thanks.